And welcome back to the conclusion of my interview with Joe. We're talking about his experience getting an SBA loan. And today the topic is going to be about believing in yourself. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Want to know the secret to boosting sales and growing a crowd of loyal customers? It's marketing. Learn how to create a powerful marketing plan with the Food Truck Marketing Guide from Table Needs. Get your copy today. The link is in the description below. That's what I tell people. Good things happen to good people. Sometimes you gotta be a little bit patient, but it does eventually happen.
Before I started this journey back in August, mid-July, I went on a weight loss journey. I finally tried to get my health together. And the night before I started this program, I went on dinner with a good friend. It was a sushi place, and they brought us over these fortune cookies at the end. And the owner of the fortune cookie, my cookie said, "The well-prepared make their own luck." And that fortune now sits in my wallet right in front of my driver's license, because it reminded me that luck is a thing. You need to get a little luck. You need to get a break. You need to get timing. But usually those that are well prepared, usually those that are due diligence oriented, that are curious, will tend to do a little bit better. And so I keep that. That was the universe reminding me that keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, we always get those little reminders and those little signs that either help guide us down a different path or keep us on the path that we you need those reassurances for sure.
Yeah, certainly. Our conversation a couple months ago was one of the signs that was like, maybe not the right path. My banker was like, maybe not the right path. Fortune cookie, that kept me on the right path. So it's definitely there's definitely mixed signs. If you're attuned, if you're listening, if you're open. I've been a big fan of the show Ted Lasso recently. Discovered that on Apple TV. And there's a scene where he's playing darts with this guy, and goes in this monologue about people underestimating him, people judging him. And the quote that I took from that is, "Be curious, not judgmental." And I find that if you're really just curious and you're really just willing to ask questions and listen, again, good things probably going to happen your way.
Looking at your overall accomplishments to this point, how do you feel? Do you feel the length of time is right?
No, I feel like the pacing is good. Came to this conclusion, this sort of starting this journey back in the spring of last year after a lacrosse tournament where we saw a food truck and sort of got re-inspired, and then went through due diligence process of about 2.5, 3 months. That vetted some different franchises, including, again, bringing on my attorney to read the agreement, going in up to the point of going visiting them in Florida to check out the operation and meet the people for face to face. And it was only because the FDD got delayed that I sort of stopped that process. It was, again, another sign of luck. The FDD expired and they needed to get the new financials from last year, and it was taking some time to get certified. It was going to be another 6 weeks. And so I had that cooling off period to sort of think about everything. And that's when I had some additional conversations and hopefully went to a different route. And that franchise owner was very supportive and provided a lot of great insight and very friendly conversations that we've had even since then. But since I started sort of planning this out and working through it, this feels about the time it should take. And I have what I believe is a really, really reputable builder in the greater Boston area. He's been in business for about 40 years. It just so happens one of my good friends used to be his steel supplier. Another one of my friends runs a lunch truck out of the Southern New Hampshire area and has been buying trucks from him for the last 15 years. So we have like these 3 or 4 really weird cosmic connections. We're like, oh, we know the same person. We know that person. So he's doing a great job. I've trusted him implicitly to sort of deliver quality product because he knows what he's doing. And he said, no, you don't want to do that. You want to do it like this. Really? He's like, trust me. Yes. All right, Dave, if that's what you want, I'm on board. You're the experienced guy. Because he always says the best competition, my best customers are my competition. They build terrible trucks and I end up fixing them or rebuilding them for people. I'm like, it's a quiet confidence, but yeah, I can see why. So I'm letting him do his thing, and I expect to have the truck back and ready to start permitting here just about in March. And the state of New Hampshire is a wonderfully interesting state when it comes to licensing and permitting. We are very much live free or die, but you'll die by 1,000 paper cuts. So navigating that process and learning that process, I've budgeted about 2 months for that to get through all of those inspections. Because not only do I have to get licensed with the state of New Hampshire, but there are 16 self-inspecting communities that if you want to work in the various cities or towns, you have to do the entire food licensing and business licensing process with that town. And every town has their own rules, whether or not they might sit next to each other. But Merrimack and Bedford, two different health inspectors, two different sets of everything. You gotta work to the lowest, the most restrictive requirements. And I made a lot of phone calls, went and sweet talked a lot of health inspectors and got all the information so that, I would have everything I need to build the truck. And my builder's guarantee is that you will pass your health inspection. That's a pretty solid, guarantee to have on the truck build. So we look to be, able to start doing some softs in April, but I'm not really comfortable yet booking full events until I have a better timeline on the final truck build, because this is all sort of theoretical. And I've been told, I'll get a timeline when we get to the right point. I'm targeting a really big event to sort of make a splash and jump into the community and do something, but walking very slowly to that goal because there are a lot of hands that this has to pass through. I'm not going to rush anything because, especially when working with government employees, they are overworked, underpaid, stressed, and it's pleases and thank yous. And it just so happens that about an hour before this call, I received an email from the state of New Hampshire saying, passed your review process. We've accepted your floor plan. Please schedule your health inspection, 10 days prior to operation. That was a great email to get this afternoon that they, my menu and concept have been approved. And it's just a question of that operational inspection, which feels great. Yeah, the right things are happening. Again, it's a long process and patient process, but I would say right on time.
Good. I mean, it sounds like the pieces are falling into place probably a little bit quicker than possibly could. So that's a good thing for you. Let's talk just real briefly here in the last little bit about somebody that is wanting to get into the food truck business and has to go the route that you've gone as far as engaging, score mentors and doing an SBA loan. How much do you feel like your personality and your personal financing impacted the decision? Or do you think that anybody could have accomplished what you did?
I definitely think my financial situation helped. I have worked very hard and have a really good business partner in my wife who manages all of our family's finances. I get an allowance by choice because that's not my strength, and I'm okay with that. So having some financial security, having some funds in the bank, and the ability, to make this investment in ourselves comes with risk, but I believe to be calculated and well thought out, again, through that 32-page business plan where we sort of outline what we will do, what we won't do, how we're going to do it, and what we expect to do. It's all theoretical. It's math. It's right. Numbers on a sheet at this point. But everyone has said, looks pretty good. We like that. And by everyone, I mean business advisor score. People with experience have vetted these numbers and said, we've seen similar and we believe you to be accurate. That's made it a little bit easier and taken a little bit of stress off, which I think has allowed me to be a little more relaxed through this process as things have gone well. And I mean, I have no idea what kind of timeline you're saying it's gone quickly. It feels like to me it's been 100 years in some steps, waiting for something. So I think having a really good support system and having a really good network is the biggest key. I've been in business for myself before, so I've hustled, I've humped for myself, so I understand that pressure. So I think that experience also is very helpful. But if you've never done anything like this and you really truly do believe, again, to go back to Ted Lasso, if you truly do believe, I think you can be successful. But if you aren't sure, if you aren't 100% committed, then you may not be. And I don't know if that's, you guys mentioned about personality. It's tough to quantify that because I believe I'm a delight. I believe I'm affable and friendly and all those things. But that's subjective. So I truly do believe if you have a good support system and you have good resources and coping skills, I have the skiing, I have my woodworking, I have things I can do to sort of take my mind off of things when I'm really frustrated. I can do some box breathing and come back to a problem, practice a halt. It makes it a lot easier to take that risk and believe that you are going to be successful with this vision because you have to be 100% committed to your vision. No one else is going to be as committed. Your advisors are committed in the sense that they may have some financial skin in the game. They want you to be successful. The bank wants me to do well. They want their money back, but they don't believe nearly like I believe. So that's ultimately what I think it comes down to is having a strong support system, having good coping skills, and truly believing that you will be successful, having that visualization. And so if you're not 100% committed, if you just think, if you're just trying to create another job for yourself because you don't like the job you have now, it might be a little bit of a more difficult road for you. I don't know.
Oh, you're right. It will be a difficult road. That answers a definitive answer. Tell me just a little bit about, you got the loan, but you said you did put in some money of your own. Percentage wise, how much money is yours, and how much was through a loan process?
So the requirement, I believe they wanted between a 15 and 20% infusion of capital. And so I did that through actually purchasing the physical truck. When I started working with my builder, he said, we don't have trucks. If you want a truck, get it from this guy. And so I started looking around for the trucks, and I found the truck suppliers, Marshall's Motors in somewhere in Indiana. I had the cash on hand and there was a good truck. It was the right everything. I didn't want to wait potentially for this vehicle to get scooped up by somebody else. And so I purchased the vehicle. And so that was the necessary infusion of capital that the bank wanted to see into the business to get the loan. I also had another infusion of cash sitting there that, still sits in the account, largely untouched, as again, backup funding. So I have the infusions of cash, line of credit, which is the super rainy day emergency backup. And then I have the remaining funds from the loan that are for the startup purposes. The funds for the truck were itemized and those checks were pre-written for the builder. Obviously, there's going to be a variance at the end of the build that I'm going to have to cover because there's some couple of things we've added here. There's been a cost overrun there. The price of steel went up by a few pennies at some point in the process. But the loan was written in such a way that the truck build was itemized, paid for with a portion of it, and I got the other portion in cash that I can spend sort of just on things like mixes and machines and crate makers and snow cone stuff and syrups. So having that initial infusion of capital, the bank wanted to see that 20%. I did that again pretty much demonstrated that with the purchase of the truck. It made things a little confusing at certain points with the various pieces of paperwork, but ultimately that was a good thing to do, even though it was a little bit of a risky move to sort of buy the truck before I had the loan. It demonstrated to the bank that I was viable as a business.
It showed that you had enough commitment and belief in what you were going to do that you spent your own money. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really key for a lot of people is they have to show that commitment, not only in believing in their idea, but I've got money in this somehow. They bought something. Even if they're operating on a small scale, at least that shows they're trying, as opposed to just going with their hand out saying, here, give me money.
No, you have to be, I believe you have to put some skin in the game. And, I wouldn't ask anything less of anybody else working with me. So, I went to the bank and I said, oh, I've already bought the truck. Like, you bought the truck? I'm like, yep, sitting in my driveway. 18-foot box truck sitting in big old honking thing sitting in my driveway. I got to get a kitchen put in it now. Can you help me? And here's how we're going to, here's how I'm going to pay you back. And they went, okay. And also a big part of it is I went into it thinking, all right, who are my allies? Who are the people that are going to help me be successful? I have a friend in sales. He knows every major corporation up and down the East Coast. I have people that work, Fidelity is located here in Merrimack, and about half the town works for Fidelity. I know more than enough people at Fidelity to go start doing corporate events over at Fidelity. I know people in the school systems and all the different businesses. And I've started to put together lists of who are my allies and who am I going to reach out to help, get my foot in the door for these various places to do these things. Because if it is a business and it has to be treated as such. And so as part of the planning process, it was not only about, how do the financials work? How does this work? But like that marketing and sales background that I have, that deep digital marketing background, it's like, all right, who are my allies? Who's going to be my friend? Who's going to get me in the door at such and such a business and such an auto dealership or whatnot? And as I've gotten closer to going live and, inform my current employer and told everyone that I work with that there's going to be a transition, I'm going to be departing, I started to reach out to more of these people and they're like, heck yeah, this is awesome. We love this. We're going to, and so developing that network and having that, who are going to be my allies component, it's again, taking a huge weight off of my chest to think, okay, I know who's going to be my advocate. I know who's going to go out there and say, hey, you got to call Joe for your next thing, because they'll come out and do a great job and do X, Y, and Z. So that's another big part of it is working your base and not being afraid to reach out and say, will you help me? Because I believe generally people do want help. And I've already found that with the few people I've networked with that have said, oh my goodness, why didn't you tell me about this sooner? I could have put you on such and such a list. We have Budweiser. We have a Budweiser brewery here in Merrimack. The Clydesdales actually used to live here. They have a ton of events, and through my local town Merrimack Facebook page, we need people for such and such at the beer garden. And it's like, I can come be at the beer garden 4 nights a week from 4 to 7 to serve. Like, okay, we're working it. So thing now is, spent the last 4 hours today working on my ServSafe manager certificate, and the website has to get done and the social medias have to get finished, but it's all going to come together at the end.
Sounds like you got everything well in hand. You're under a little bit of a deadline because whenever they get the truck finished, you want to be able to 10 days later get that inspection and get open. Time's a wasting for some things, but if you think about it, you have enough time to do everything you need to do.
And my plan is to run the truck 6 to 7 months a year, possibly 8 into the early holiday season, but work enough and make enough to support my family and support everything, and then be able to spend more time in the winter working for the local ski area, working for Vail, and having more time to do the things that spark my joy, that refill my cup. And so it's nice that being here in a cold weather climate, the food truck season will end right about Thanksgiving-ish, maybe some early holiday fairs and craft markets and whatnot. But then once the snow guns fire up, I can box up the boards and get back outside and slide, maybe get back up to that 80, 90 days a year on snow that I used to have. So it's gonna slide together nicely. That's my belief, because I believe.
Yep, there you go. I mean, that's half the battle right there, is believing. All right, we're drawing to the close here. What would be one last little bit of inspiration you would leave?
My advice is look inward, because if you're doing something that you're just not passionate about, if you're just not feeling it anymore, you've been at that 9 to 5 for 20 years and it's just, you've been teaching, you've been whatever, and you're just ready for something else. You have to look inward. You have to be ready and committed to knowing that it's not going to be a smooth road. It's not going to be a linear path. It's not going to go as planned, but can influence the process. You can do all the things, but if you're not 100% in here, ready to go and to take the ups and downs and have that, ride or die mentality, you're probably going to hit a roadblock and not be able to get past it. And it's all going to be driven by you. My wife is incredibly invested. She wants us to be successful for a whole host of reasons. She's not leaving her job. She's keeping her job. She's doing her thing, and she's going to support the business as best she can. But at the end of the day, it's going to be my thing. And as the paperwork is structured, it's my thing. But if you haven't gone through the period of self-reflection, you haven't looked inside and said, am I strong enough? Do I have what it takes to get this done? And thought through various scenarios, when you run into some adversity, you might be inclined to, step out of the journey. And at a certain point, you can't. You're stuck. You're in it. You're committed. You got a loan. I'm not going back now. The government is giving me money. I am not going back on that. I really believe it. Truly, it is. There's got to be a period of self-reflection. And am I committed to this 100%? And if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm committed, I'm good to go. You can do the Stuart Smalley. Gosh darn it, I'm good enough. I'm kind enough, and people like me. I forget what that affirmation was from Saturday Night Live all those years ago, but you can do the Stuart Smalley and you can believe in yourself and have that difficult conversation, you're going to be okay.
Everyone needs to hear something along those lines of, you need to look inward. You need to define why you want to do this, because whatever that reason is, it has to get you over those hurdles, because there's going to be a bunch. Some of them may be little, some of them may be big. You have to be able to face them all, know that your idea is going to work. And you got to have that belief. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. I appreciate you giving me a whole hour of your time. That's awesome to share your story.
Awesome. I'm happy to provide the content. It's I truly appreciated all the things that you said to me a few months ago, reading, all of your very sometimes stern feedback to posts and to things, but very real and very honest. And I really appreciate that. When all that stuff with Square was going on and people were freaking out, you're like, I warned you, I told you, you did not heed 1,000 times, get a backup. It's your own fault. Sometimes you need to be scolded. Sometimes you need to be told, no, you just got to suck it up, buttercup, and do the right thing, which is have a backup system. I come from a world of weddings. I had 5 camera bodies. I had 15 backs. I had a dozen lenses. If something went down while the bride was walking down the aisle, I only got one shot at that snap. You don't think I was ready with 3 different worst case scenarios? You bet your butt I was, because I never missed that shot. So if you're not thinking like I'm on a boat mentality, yeah, you got a problem. So I've really appreciated and really enjoyed that, with the group. And now that I've dropped down to part-time at my job, I really hope to be a little bit more active in the group and get some things out there, because we're better together. It's a community, and you've got
Absolutely.
a really, really good one going. I'm proud to be a part of it.
Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow, because I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.